Hey, everybody, welcome! Storylines Spotlight. My name is New John Simmons, here live from the Testimony House Network studios. Swanky Diggs here. We're inviting you to be part of Season 2, Episode 1 of our flagship testimonial program called Spotlight, where we do a deep dive conversation with all sorts of people who are walking with Christ, for Christ, and we want to be able to share their stories and their journeys with you. Thanks for tuning in tonight. If this is your first time watching Testimony House, we are a Christian ministry that does live stream programs several times a week, and we want to invite you to go to our brand new YouTube page. We just started it. If you head over to youtube.com/testimonyhouseorg, you'll be able to find our channel, which is then going to be able to get you exclusive videos. You're going to see all of our shows, and just all you have to do is hit that subscribe button to get on board with the show. Oh, look at this. This is the little video on how to do it. In case you didn't know, youtube.com/testimonyhouseorg. Man, we're so excited because we have so many new programs that are coming up right around the bend. These programs are going to be able to bless you, entertain you, and all you got to do is hit that red subscribe button, hit that bell to get live notifications. If you're following us on Facebook right now, we'd ask you to go over to YouTube and just click that subscribe button. Hit us a like on Facebook because we want to be able to get this content to people because they don't know we're out there yet. And without you guys sharing it, without you guys clicking those buttons, no one will know we're out here doing this stuff for the Lord. And we want people to know that there's something out there to watch besides sermons, besides just service on Sunday. You have programs that can edify, entertain, and educate all of you who are trying to seek the Lord or know Him already. All right. With further ado, I want to go ahead and get to today's guest, our buddy who wrote this song here. This is the theme for Let's Change St. Louis, which is currently on hiatus, another show we have here on the network. It's Ntegrity. Brother, how you doing?
I'm blessed, man. Thanks for having me. Honor and a privilege. Thank you for inviting me in your space.
Oh, man, no, I'm blessed. The Change the World theme song, which, by the way, is available at iTunes everywhere on the world, right?
This is correct. Everywhere music is sold digitally, you can receive it, buy it. I appreciate the support from the bottom of my heart.
And we do too, because if you watch Ntegrity and you like that song, it'll drive you over to Let's Change St. Louis and the Testimony House Network. It's all connected here, Ntegrity. We're all trying to help each other here in the city of St. Louis. I'm blessed, brother. I'm blessed to have you on the show. I'm blessed to have you in my life. In fact, we got together just a few years ago when we were doing radio over at KXEN. We had a little show called Let's Change St. Louis. It's fitting that you wrote the music for the new version of it, but when I met you, I wasn't really sure where you would land in the scope of my life and my surrounding circle, but God's really put us together in a couple different ways, and I'm really excited to talk to you and hear your story that is going to be so hopefully impactful to people who are searching for Christ in their own lives. And one of the things that I saw you were doing as a Christian hip-hop artist is going to be our first question of the show, is that I saw that the space that you're in is so limited. In fact, that Christian hip-hop is not very large in the scope of Christian music. But in the world, music in general, secular music, hip-hop is a huge cultural defining part of our lives. So I wanted to talk to you about, first off, what's your take on why you decided to get into a space that's limited in the fact that it doesn't have a lot of people to sort of show you the ropes, but God gave you this idea, right?
Amen. I'm a servant at heart. You know, my everyday walk, every day I wake up, I'm like, Lord, how can I serve you? I've been blessed with the gift of hip hop since I was 10 years old. You know, watching my older cousins kind of cultivate their gifts right in front of me as a young, impressionable boy. When I became, a Christian, man, when I really started walking this thing out for Jesus, these proclivities to do hip hop, they didn't go anywhere. I'm like, okay, God, you gave me this gift. How can I use it to glorify you? So that's kind of how I got into the Christian hip hop arena, understanding that it was a gift from God and also a tool that can be used for his kingdom building to combat all the negativeness and negative stigmas that hip hop has been known for.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed when we first met, in fact, when I wrote my book, God Has a Sentence for Your Life, which is there's some sort of weird buzz in the background. You got a window open or something, bro? I'm it's like super loud over here in our
My
headphones.
window, my patio door is open. You want me to close it?
Yeah,
I
bro.
can
I'm
close
sorry we
it.
got to do it, man. It's so loud. We got to
No, no, no.
stop for a second.
Close it.
It's all right. But while you're
Uh,
doing that, I'm going to tell people that when me and Integrity met, I really was so impressed by the fact that he was doing something that was difficult to do, and he was doing it in a space that not a lot of people were really looking at, because Christian hip hop is such a niche thing right now, and I want to expose it. I want to expose what he's doing. I want to show people what God is doing through him, and people are already with us on social media. Integ, I want to let you know. Megan loves your songs over here, and we got Deanna watching over here. That's my brother. Yeah, we got everybody loves Integrity over here, and we're so thankful you've joined us on the program. You were doing this thing, and I was so impressed about it. I put a little blurb about you in my book, and I wanted to talk about your influences, because
man.
I don't know what you were listening to early on in life or what Christian music you either listened to in church or outside of church, but I want to know.
Yeah, man. I'm influenced. If I were to give a vague answer, I'm influenced by life. But if I really had to pinpoint some people that were influential in my life, it'll definitely be my mom. Um, as a kid, my mom was the type. She was real restrictive on the music she let me listen to, but she had an artist that she was a favorite of, and it was Tupac. So naturally, I couldn't listen to all the other hip hop that came across the airwaves, things that my friends were listening to. But when I was in the car with my mom, or when she was cleaning up the house, she had Tupac blasting. And if anybody knows Tupac, he's known to be a lyricist. So I got introduced to hip hop through the lyrics of Tupac, which naturally influenced me to want to be a lyricist, to put a message in my music, something that's edifying and uplifting and life changing, and compiled with Jesus. Man, it's been dope thus far. Yeah.
Speaking of Jesus, so do you remember some of the first Christian songs that you either sang as a kid? Now, I'm not talking about Jesus Loves Me, yes, I know, but was there something, some sort of gospel song or some sort of contemporary song that really spoke to you early on in life?
Contemporary, I don't know, but one of my favorites still to this day is Amazing Grace. Sometimes I sing that right now, and I just well up in tears because I understand the saving grace of the Lord and Savior, man, and His mercy. So definitely, yeah.
Speaking of your mom, she's over on Facebook. She said, "That's my son. To God be the glory."
I
Man,
see that.
you got so many friends and
So,
people loving on you. I love it. Over on Facebook, that's my uncle. You got all sorts of friends, man. I love it. I love
amen.
it. I love it. I love it. And
Hey,
Justin, who I know is not related to you, but he said hello, brother. So we're all brothers here in Christ. What a lovely show. We're just
amen.
having a good time getting connected to one
Amen.
another. So
Praise
we
God.
became friends, and I'm watching you do your thing, and I'm so impressed. And I wanted to talk about your sort
Praise
of
God.
journey to where you are now, which is being an influence. And just recently, you had told me, and I don't know if this is news you're sharing or not, you got a new appointment in life.
I do, man. Should I let the cat out the bag first
I
here
think it's
on
up to you,
Testimony
bro.
House Network?
Let's do it.
So
This is exclusive.
as a kid, I always had a strong propensity towards radio. I listened to the radio all the time, man. And I would always listen to the DJs and how they segued music, how they grabbed you and kept you locked into the station. And I always was intrigued by that, man. And back in 2015, I went back to school and got my degree in recording engineering and production with management. And that contained learning how to operate the ins and outs of all different kinds of studios, whether you're in a recording studio
Right.
or a DJ type of studio. It gave me background on how to operate the controls and everything. So, I started utilizing my gifts, and that strong propensity towards radio came back, man. And I'm like, okay, Lord, you gave me these talents, these skills, these abilities. I want to use it to glorify you. I mean, I can start reaching out to some of these secular stations here in town or whatever, but I would rather use my gifts to glorify you. So I reached out to Boost 101.9. They were fresh on the scene, and I was really loving what was happening with them because I hadn't heard anything like that here in St. Louis. And I'm like, man, this is dope hip hop. dope, positive hits. They're glorifying the Lord. I'm like, I would love to be a part of this. So I reached out, man. I started interning out there a little bit, but they didn't have anything available. But through the grace of God, I met you, and you kind of pulled me in the radio at that time, man, and just kind of introduced me to, radio, and took me under your wing. And, a year in, Boost hits me back. They're like, hey, are you still interested? I'm like, yeah. So yeah, man, I'm gonna be rocking out there. I'm a new DJ there. I'm gonna have an evening show, and I'm super excited to be a part of the team, man. Good people over there, man. Really got a heart to serve. Really love Jesus, man, and they're making a difference in the community. And I just count it an honor and a privilege to even, be on board. You know what I mean?
New Boost 1019 DJ Ntegrity here with us here on the Testimony House Network. I'm very excited,
Oh,
man.
Jesus.
You are one of the guys who really works hard, and especially as I've already mentioned, you're working in an area that's not getting a lot of publicity. You're working in an area that doesn't have a lot of navigators to sort of carve the path out for you to take. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit. If we look at Christian music, I got born again 6 years ago, and I had never heard of like Chris Tomlin or any of these guys who were even the most popular guys of the day. Nonetheless, I had never heard of the people who were in Christian hip hop. None of them. I didn't know Lecrae. I didn't know any of them. I couldn't name probably more than five now today, and that's just, speaks to the lack of it being in the area from my perspective of being a new believer. And you need to be exposed to those kinds of things in order for you to know they're out there. Much like this network, there could be great things in the world, and you never find them unless somebody shares it with you. You got to be exposed to it. And so I wanted to talk about, from my perspective, we see sort of contemporary Christian music where they're playing guitars and drums and they're playing these songs. And then we've got gospel music, and then we've got sort of these hymns. And these are sort of the three characteristics of service on Sundays if you're going to do praise and worship. And so what I see here in St. Louis, you're working at a station that's doing more urban and more uplifting and more youth-driven songs. Do you think this is changing this culture of just, we've got these three types of genres, but now we've got to sort of expand on it, and you're getting to be part of that, leading the pack? What do you think?
Um, I don't know. I think it all coexists together, man. Because when you look at some of the mainstream Christian hip hop artists like Lecrae or NF, and you listen to their projects in its totality, it's a blend. It's a blend of all three. I've seen Lecrae blend soulful gospel music into his music. I've seen him blend CCM, which is Christian contemporary music, and I've also seen him just be on the forefront of pure hip hop. You know what I mean? So expanding, I think they're growing together. Obviously, CCM has a larger audience. I get it. But I think Christian hip hop, is definitely, what I mean, is congruent with what's happening in the Southern gospel and also in CCM. If that
So
makes
tell
sense.
me, from your perspective as a guy who's walking out this path, and I want to be able to encourage people to understand that God has a plan for each one of us. And this is what my book, God Has a Sentence for Your Life, is all about, this idea that there is an individual plan. In fact, Hebrews 11 describes people that are walking out God's plan for their life, and they're different people, and they're doing different things. God's the same God today, and he's given me a path, and he's given Ntegrity a path, and he's given you a path. But when you get called to your path, it isn't always to a chair that you would take. Now, I'm sure you loved music, Ntegrity, but I'm sure when God was like, I want you to do this for me and to play songs that speak my heart to others, and you look around and you go, well, I don't see a lot of people making a lot of money in that. I don't see a lot of people getting a lot of exposure in that. I don't even know how to start. How do you set foot on a path where the secular place will tell you, well, you need to be in the club on Friday night? And I've seen you go outside and you play on Wednesday afternoons. And so how do you take that first step to say, okay, God, if this is the path you have for me, I'm going to trust you, but here's what I'm going to do, my first steps of faith to get there.
Amen. You answered it. Having faith. I didn't get into so music is it's a labor of love. I've always loved doing music, whether it was something I was getting paid for or something I was staying up all night learning my craft. Um, I just love doing it. You know what I mean? So I didn't even get into Christian hip hop for money or any type of monetary gain or to see my bank account increase. My whole focus when I got into the Christian hip hop arena was to use the gift God gave me to serve
Yeah.
Him. Anything else that comes along with it, relationships I build, connections that I develop, and even if dollar signs start to rain in, that's a byproduct of me serving Him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was it like for you to take those first leaps of faith when you're writing out your first song or you're trying to share your music with an audience for the first time? How do you take those steps to even find an audience?
It was tough, man. I started out in a Christian trio called the City Takers. It was me,
It's a good name.
the artist that I'm pushing off of. It was dope. The artist that I'm pushing off of my label now, his name is Authentic, and my beautiful queen is actually how our union became one. I met my wife doing music, and we were just faithful servants. Just understanding that this tool is a tool that can be used for destruction or it can be used to add life to someone. And God started to show us, like when we would go out and do shows, how it was impacting people. So just really, trend setting and getting started, it was just a complete walk of faith, understanding like, Lord, this is your gift. This is what you gave us. Whatever you decide to do with it, whether it's on a small scale or a grand scale, we're going to glorify you. We're going to worship you. We're going to praise you, and we're going to continue to give you the thanks because we know this is your work. You know what I mean? We're willing vessels, and he's just been elevating the ministry thus far, and I'm grateful.
So we heard this song "Change the World" to start the show off. This brand new song you've just released a couple weeks ago that we get to play here on the network. But I'm not sure if your songwriting skills were that polished in the beginning. So walk me through what it was like those early days of songwriting for Ntegrity.
Early days of songwriting, it was like complete zeal. As I was learning the word and diving into the word. You heard more of the passion. It was almost like I had this new secret, and everybody had to know about it. You know what I mean? So it was more zeal. And as the maturation happened and the maturity came, I started being able to really incorporate life experiences and how it lined and coexisted with the Word of God. So yeah, man, it's been a developmental process thus far.
Do you remember the name of the first song you wrote for Jesus?
Music is power.
Music is power. And so we're going to have to
Yep.
put that link in the description for people to hear how you've come because I think it's part of the journey for people. I don't know, you probably don't share that song a whole lot. I don't know if you do or not, but the idea is that God's got a path for us and the path isn't this straight line, right? And I know because I know you personally and you can speak to this yourself. You had to go to school for this. You stepped out in business in a few times. So walk us through some of those major steps for you that got you from this music is power to where you are today.
No doubt, man. I got to give a shout out to my wife because her being on my side, her championing me and pushing me, constantly believing in me, is really what really drove me to not give up. Um, a lot of people don't know in my past, I wasn't doing hip hop full fledged. It wasn't a full time thing, man. I was a automotive technician, and God started to change some things in me through some problems that I was experiencing with my back, and I'm like, Lord, like I got this family that I have to support. I have a new wife, new baby, and I'm like, I'm the breadwinner for my family. Like I can't just up and switch careers. And he's just like, trust me. So I sat down with my wife. I'm like, honey, I'm really thinking of switching my careers, going back to school, and really taking this music thing seriously. And she's like, babe, whatever you want me to do. She was like, I'll work while you go to school. I'm like, I
Yeah.
married the right one. I married the right one. And so she worked while I went to school, man. I bust my butt. I was valedictorian, man. I came out with the highest GPA in the school's history ever. And I don't say that to impress people, but to impress upon people, man. If you really want to do something that's a deep desire in your heart and you really want to serve Jesus, both of those are at the forefront. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. Man, there's no limit to what can happen in your life.
Ntegrity here with us on Spotlight. I don't want you to miss it if you're watching this. When he was walking by himself, he's an automotive technician with a broke back. When he gets inside God's plan for his life, he becomes a valedictorian who writes songs that people like to listen to. There is a drastic difference when you walk in your path and when you walk in God's path. That's just a simple math there as I'm hearing your story. I've heard it before, but many people may have not that are tuning in tonight. In fact, so many people are giving you the love here on Facebook and on our YouTube page. Very talented artist. You better get it, my brother, says Kiera. I thank you all for watching today. And while you're on the page, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button for Testimony House. We launched this brand new live streaming Christian network, and we want you to be a part of it. Ntegrity, our brother, is supporting us, and we're supporting him, and we want to just let people know that God's doing things through his people, and it's not just in music, and sometimes it's in live stream video, but we want people to know, but they're not going to know unless you tell them about it, because you're here, and you know it. You know it's here, so thank you for all of your partnership in all of that as a viewer, and I want to thank Ntegrity for being here on the show with us. I want to talk now about something a little bit different. So I want to talk about the idea of the road that you're walking and how it looks different than everybody else who's in your field. So we've got some pictures I want to pull up, and I think I've seen you, and you do this a lot, it seems, at least from my perspective, is you're going out into the community, or you're going to places that aren't the normal place to go and perform music, and you're either reaching an audience or at least you're stepping out in faith to say, I don't care if anybody shows up, I'm still going to go perform. And I think that maybe from my perspective, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, if I was going to say, okay, here are the steps to become a hip-hop artist in a secular world, I wouldn't think that the steps you're taking would lead to that final place, okay? But the place you're going is different. And so tell me how you decided to take those steps or why they're so important to you.
Just looking back over my past, John, um, I seen an incongruent path when it came to how some of my buddies was living and the avenue God was taking me. So the area I grew up in St. Louis is a small municipality called Normandy, Velda Village to be specific. And the mayor over the city municipality that I grew up in, he started on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday what you call a rec center. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I would be occupied at the rec center playing basketball, working on music. They even had talent shows for us to do so we can display our gifts on stage in front of all the members. And I seen how the buddies that didn't go to the rec center was out in the streets getting in trouble, doing things they shouldn't have been doing. So when I look back on my past, had it not been for somebody creating a positive outlet for us, taking time to mentor us, taking time to speak life into us and help us to expand our thought process, I wouldn't be where I am today. So whenever I go out and do community outreach, whether it's at the roughest, toughest areas in St. Louis or in Nashville or in Memphis, wherever God takes me, I'm thinking about those moments when someone sat me down and talked to me and spoke life into my life. I know I can't change everybody, but I'm just trying to be the spark to change whoever God brings me in contact with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I love the idea that you sort of just saw opportunities in your surroundings, which is so important to people who are in Christ and they're like, God, what do you have for me? Where am I supposed to go? And sometimes it's just about taking a step back and looking around. And you saw opportunities at whatever it was at the rec center or an open mic night, or you just saw, hey, they're doing some party out on the street. I'm just going to bring my speakers and I'm going to sing over it. And the idea that you found opportunities in your surroundings is so important for anybody to catch who's trying to walk out God's plan. But what I think you maybe have experienced, and you can speak against it if you think I'm wrong here, is the first time you got on the rec center stage or wherever you went, I want to talk about maybe the fear or at least the maybe intimidation that might have been on your heart the first time you started to do these things.
Oh, that's every time. Every time I stand on stage, I get butterflies. And it reminds me that I'm not walking on the stage in my own power. It's me walking on the stage, because the Lord is with me. If I walk up there and I don't get butterflies, then I start getting worried because I'm like, okay, God, I'm too comfortable. I need to
Right.
be able to rely on you. But yeah, the first time I stepped on stage, John, man, it was a fear. But going back to when I first started doing hip hop, my grandmother, she had this camcorder. It was like one of those news camcorders, the ones you put on your shoulder. And me and my cousin would steal her camcorder. We would go down in my mom's basement. We would set it up, and we'll be rapping on camera, dude. And I don't
Ha.
even know where these ideas came from, but we would just be down there just rapping on camera. So I had already kind of got used to somewhat performing. So when I got on stage, it wasn't a fright to where I couldn't, go through with the performance. But yeah, man, anytime you're doing something, especially as at a magnitude where you're serving the Lord, man, you wanna do it in excellence, and that healthy fear is there.
Yeah, I like that because that's a noticeable takeaway someone can have when they're starting to do something they feel is from the Lord is that if you feel like you've got it, if you feel like you have arrived, maybe you haven't, and that you need that sense of, am I doing the right thing? Do I have butterflies? Do I feel like I'm unworthy to be where I'm at? Because God puts the meek in the places above others, and you have to have this humble heart. You, Integrity, maybe more than anybody else. You're my top 3 list of people who lift others up. I see this in you in person and in social media. It's not an act with you when you try to lift others up, and when people walk in the room, you are the first one generally to be like, hey man, how are you doing, and how can I talk about you? This is an attitude that I know that you've had to mature in your walk with Christ. What has that road been like for you, where maybe you came from a place where it's more about being selfish and trying to get yours to being a person who's able to walk out like I described?
Amen. A lot of people know now, because I've been sharing my story a lot, that they know that I grew up without a dad. And early on, especially like grade school, I dealt with bullies. I dealt with people, whether it was verbal bullying or physical bullying. And I remember how that made me feel. So low, so down, so unimportant. The last person in the room that someone would ever notice. And I would never wish that on anybody. So whenever I meet somebody new, man, I'm thinking about how I felt when those kids or students was bullying me. And I just want to, one, let somebody know you're important in the eyes of God. I want to show you that I feel that you're important and you have value and you have worth. And whatever happened this morning before we came in contact, let's talk about that. Like, I'm not just asking how you doing and expecting you to say good and I go about my day. If you say, man, I had a rough one, man, what was rough about it, man? Let's talk about it. I'm here. You got my ears. Because I want people to feel like there is somebody in their corner. There is somebody that's actually listening with prayerful intentions. And yeah, man, that's kind of like the story behind that.
And I know that you use your lyrics to describe issues like that. I've heard you talk about bullying, and I've heard your most recent video you got about Precious and the that that lifestyle of being able to take character from God and placing inside your heart. And I want to be able to talk about how you've also given back in the community because you see things and you want to give back. And I know that when we first met, you were working with youngsters, helping them write songs and record. And now you most recently have done stuff with Story Stitchers. And I see pictures with you all the time, writing songs or sharing your songs or just giving hugs and handshakes to people who are trying to do and come up and do what you're doing. What's that like for you?
It's an honor and a privilege and a blessing. It's something that I will never take lightly or take for granted. Just going back to when you asked me the first song I ever created, the title of it was "Music Is Power." One of the main reasons why I was going to that rec center was so we can work on our music. Um, that pull, that pull was just enough to prevent me from going astray or following a path that could have ultimately been in destruction. So when I see um, the youth and young adults that I work with have that same proclivity towards music, man, I gravitate towards them. And I've learned, like, even when I go out to, like, I used to work with the Boys and Girls Club. Even when I go out and, I always look for the ones who are like the class clowns or kind of like the ones who are seeking that attention, the ones who would probably normally get in trouble. And I learned that once I sit down and work with them, those are the most talented youth and young adult people you can ever work with. They create some of the most beautiful songs. They're so skilled and with natural abilities, man. So, even with working with Story Stitchers, shout out Story Stitchers, it's a privilege, man, just to be able to use what God has put in me to add to the next generation, to raise them up, to create music that's life changing.
I love it so much. Ntegrity Music is the place you can go visit him over on all the social media accounts at Ntegrity Music. You can follow him and watch what he's doing, see all the impact that he's having in the community. Over on Facebook, a lot of people commenting still. Precious is my favorite song, says Deanna. I just appreciate that everybody loves you. I love coming on here and seeing everybody just shout out to Mr. Ntegrity, who's just obviously you've had an impact on people's lives, whether it's young people or old people. You're doing what God has for you, and people are taking a notice. And this is what I want takeaways to be from anybody who's watching this and you're saying, well, God's got nothing for me. I don't know how to sing. I don't know how to rap. Listen, it doesn't matter because God's got something for you, but you have to look around in your own heart. You have to get close to God. If you can't get close to God, you won't hear him. If I'm in another room for my daughter, she can't hear me talking to her. I need to be in the room with her. So I need to invite you to go get closer to God if you want to find out what God's plan is for your life. Ntegrity's been getting close to God, and in that process, he's been able to be refined, to be a more mature person, to be able to walk out God's plan for his life. This wasn't an accident, right, Ntegrity? Was this an accident? Maybe it was.
No, it wasn't, man. Honestly, way back when, I didn't see myself, living a lifestyle, that's serving the Lord. Um, but I do thank my mom for all those times when, I would be trying to play the game with my buddies because all my buddies would come over my house and we'll be in my room playing the game. And lo and behold, my mom, she comes in the room and she's like, you guys need to get right with the Lord. You need to start following Jesus. Come over here on Sunday. I'll take you all to church. You know what I mean? So, she was definitely the monarch in that, man. So when I look back, I thank my mom because she's the one who, when it started to click, when I started to walk a life that was serving God for myself and not for my mom or not for my granny, it started to click. All of those things that mom was telling me back in the day, I'm like, Mom, it's making sense now. And thank you. You know what I mean? But did I ever think I'll be living a lifestyle that's using hip hop to serve Jesus? Nah, but I'm
Yeah.
grateful.
My grandma is 98 years old, and
Wow.
when I was 15 years old, I played music in a rock band, and we played the clubs on the weekend. I played guitar in this band, and I remember when grandma found out I was going to play, my grandma, who's been an AG, tongue talking believer since, she was probably 6 years old. I remember the conversation I had with her where she was like, Johnny, you gonna go to hell for playing that music? And I remember at the time thinking, Grandma, you don't know my life. I'm gonna do what I want to do. Now I didn't know Christ then, but I remember years later that when I finally got born again at almost 30 years old, she was the first person I ran to say, Grandma, you were right. I need to know what to do now. So thankful for gods and grandmas and mamas, and you're talking about that too. Let's hear some more about what the influence of your parents have been on your music and your walk.
Definitely. I want my mom to be able to put my CD in and listen to it and be proud. You know what I mean? I don't
Right.
want her to have to take it out because some misogynistic lyrics or some profane language. I wanted to put it in and say I'm proud of my son, and I know my father. Everybody who knew my father before he passed away, when they see me now, they're like, man, I know your dad's proud of you, man. So that's definitely an influence, man. And just understanding that I have a duty to continue to make my mom proud, man. Like I can't just stop here. I want to continue, and my whole
Sure.
family. My children are looking up to me. I'm the head of my family, so therefore it's a way that I have to maneuver and certain things that I have to do to make sure my kids are falling in line with the Lord and His Word. So yeah, man, it's all an influence. Like seeing people around me influenced by what I do helps me continue to push forward, man, and serve Jesus wholeheartedly.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a moment. So you had great mama praying for you and trying to get you to walk a path even when you were reluctant. And now you as a parent, let's give a shout out to your wife and 4 kids. Let's hear all the names and everything.
Shout out my beautiful, beautiful queen, Nisi J, Donice McNichols. She's a singer, songwriter behind the scenes. She's actually in school right now going to UMSL, and she's
Awesome.
studying marketing and business. So I can't wait to see what God does with her, man. Um, Shout out my oldest son, Joshua David, and my second son, Reginald the third. He carries my namesake. my oldest daughter Addison and my youngest daughter Madeline. They're all staggered. Their stair steps. They're like 18 months apart. We've been busy these 8 years of marriage.
Yeah, and she worked while you went to school, and now she's in school, and you're trying to build up Ntegrity Music. You launched a record label, all with 4 kids. I have 2 kids, and I feel like sometimes I can't even get out the house. You are an encouragement to parents everywhere to keep on going. When God gives you a plan, you don't get to get off the gas pedal. It's all systems go, right?
Amen. I learned that if I get off the gas pedal, if I take one day off, that can push me accomplishing one of my goals or my dreams back 6 months. So I can't take a day off, man.
It's good.
And you know, my boys, you know, I tell them, you know, I'm teaching them, trying to empower them to become financially free, and you know, understand that, you know, you don't have to necessarily follow the status quo of what, you know what normal people would try to say, get a job, retire. I'm like, son, there's so many opportunities out there, man. You know, work and use your abilities to create something that you own. So yeah, man. So I'm striving, you know, to push my family towards entrepreneurialism, and you know, just leaving a legacy behind, not only for my children but my children's children.
That's wisdom from the Bible right there. You're hiding it underneath no. You didn't say no Bible verse at the end, so it just sounds smart. But that's the Bible talking to y'all. I don't want
Come
you to
on
miss
now.
it. He's got the Bible in his heart. He just gets to say it out loud. Y'all get to hear it.
Amen.
From God's word to
Amen.
his heart to your ears. That's how it works. I love it so much. Let's talk about some of that work you're up to. So I know you do a million projects, and you always got something on the burners, and you always got something that just came out. So give us the rundown on the recency of projects
Yeah.
that you've been working on.
I want to shout out and salute my brother, New John Simmons, for petitioning me to create the theme song for his new live streaming platform called Let's Change St. Louis. That song is out right now. It's called Change the World by Ntegrity. You can get that everywhere. Shout out Authentic. He's the first artist being launched off of my label since Ntegrity himself. And we released his first single on Easter called Faith to Walk. So that's everywhere, man. It's got some heavy truth in it. It's got some banging beats, just encouraging the saints to keep the faith no matter how hard it gets. And also encouraging people who are outside of the faith, just try faith and see what happens. So that's out. And we're doing an album release for Authentic. His album, titled Beautiful, is dropping June 15th. And we're doing an album release for him at Medici Media Space. So if you check out my social media, that's all out there, man. So that's the latest, greatest. And we got some other things cooking too.
Yeah, I know you do. You're about to be a DJ. You got all this stuff going on. If you want to put any of the links to your shows or anything like that in the description of this program, either on the YouTube page or whatever, I think that'll be a blessing to people to go and find you. If this is the first time they're seeing you, we don't have any of your videos to play, but they're out on YouTube too. So as you're searching for Testimony House and clicking that subscribe button, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go over to Integrity's YouTube page and you're going to click his subscribe button, which I did today, by the way. So I'll be waiting for that notification that says Integrity just followed Testimony House too. I know how this game works.
Amen.
Follow for follow, bro.
Hey man, you know it, baby. That's what it's about, man. You know, we follow each other and then we ultimately follow Jesus, man. That's the most important thing.
Man, I love you so much, brother, and you have been such a
Love
blessing
you
to my
too.
life, and I know so many people can be touched by your music. So tell them where to find all your songs right now.
My songs are everywhere. Anywhere you can purchase digital music, Amazon, iTunes, Google Play. Go check out Precious. That dropped. It's on my latest album. Actually, this one right here, View from the
Ah,
Inside Out. So that's out there, man. You can check the Precious video out. Please leave a comment. Please subscribe to my channel, please. But it's out there, man. Amazon, Google Play, Spotify. You know, I appreciate the support from the bottom of my heart, man.
Renee over on Facebook just said she listened to some of your music while we've been on the show here. She says, my kind of music, bro. So I know that it is too, and
Praise
it's touched my
God.
it's touched my heart too, man. And being in a friendship circle with you has really blessed me, and I'm so thankful that God's put us
Likewise.
together and more opportunities for us to talk in the future. But for tonight, I want to let you know that we're going to close up the shop, and you say goodbye to everybody.
Love you guys. Peace out. This has been Integrity. And remember, integrity matters the most when you're all by yourself.
That's so good. All right, Integrity. We'll see you around the road, brother.
Love you, brother. It's been an honor and a
Love you too.
privilege.
Thank you so much. And for everybody who's tuned in tonight, I want to let you know that Testimony House Network is a place where we can do live streaming Christian program almost every day of the week, and we want to be able for you to find it, but we need partners like you. So if you are interested in partnering up with Testimony House, okay, we are a nonprofit Christian ministry. There are 3 ways I want to give you to do it. You can invite us to your church. We have classes and seminars. We can do live streaming for your church. These are 3 things that I know are helpful to people. You can join our team. All you got to do is message us on Facebook. If you have a testimony, if you have a story like Ntegrity's and you want to share yours, head over to Facebook, drop us a message, email us, testimonyhouses@gmail.com, or of course, number 3, become a partner. Your monthly support will help us grow to reach more people with the message of Christ. All you have to do is head over to testimonyhouse.org/give. You can read our vision over there as well, so you know everything that we're trying to do behind the scenes, which is a lot. This show isn't it, but we're sharing the testimonies of people who have found Christ and are walking out God's sentence for their life. So every Tuesday we're here at 6. Tomorrow we got our brand new show, Heart Like David, starting at 6 o'clock. We want to invite you to tune in for that. But until then, guys, we pray you discover a future and a hope for your life today.